Hi, I'm Scott Morgan, and I'm running for the Republican nomination for Secretary of State on August 5th against the incumbent Chris Kobach. Who am I? Why am I running for this office? And what is this office? Well, my family moved to Kansas in 1856 before there was a Kansas. We've been Republicans since there was a Republican Party in Kansas. I was born and raised here, graduated from KU undergrad and law school, and went to Washington, D.C. and worked on the staffs of Senator Kassebaum and Senator Dole. I represented the United States Senate on the Federal Election Commission, and I served as chief counsel for Senator Dole's presidential campaign in 1988. After that was over, my wife and I were expecting our first child, so we moved home back to Kansas, and I became chief counsel for Governor Mike Hayden. In 1990, I was the Republican nominee for Congress in the 2nd District. After that didn't work out so well, I decided it was time to try the private side, and my wife and I started a publishing business, state and city statistical reference books. It was hard, it was sort of different, but it gave us the flexibility to raise our 3 children. We took them to all 50 states, 48 of them in a minivan, and that will either kill you or make you very strong. I'm pleased to say that we survived, and so I think it made us stronger, all of us. I also served 2 terms on the Lawrence School Board, twice as president. I think that unique experience on the private and the public side make me qualified for the Secretary of State in ways most people aren't. In 2007, we sold the business to the Congressional Quarterly, and I continue to edit a few of the publications and a database. But primarily, I'm focused now on trying to run for this office. But what is this office and why am I running for it? Most people don't have any idea what Secretary of State is. You know about the national one, but not about the local one, the state one. It really is a secretary. It's largely a clerical position. The only reason we continue to elect this office is because it also happens to be the chief elections officer. And that right to vote is such a fundamental, basic right that we continue to want to have the say in who this person is. Why is that right to vote so important? It's the right upon which all our other rights are dependent. The rights to speech, to religion, everything else that we value depends on a strong and vibrant republic. And for that republic to be there, the right to vote needs to be exercised by everyone, even those with whom we disagree. We want them part of the system. We don't want them outside the system. We want them to feel that they have a voice, and not only feel that, to actually have a voice, to vote. And too often we view voting as a privilege, not as a right, something that the government gives you, like a driver's license or whatever. But it isn't. It is a right. It is something we have that the government administers, but it isn't what it controls. It is our right that we just possess. And I think too often we find ways to block the right to vote under the idea that we need to protect the right to vote. And when people start spreading fear that there are things out there and we need to restrict your rights to protect them, I start getting very nervous. I don't think that's Republican. I don't think we view government as the one that should get in the way of our rights like that without a very compelling reason. My opponent, Mr. Kobach, says a lot about illegal aliens voting in elections, but he has only 5 examples that may have voted between 1997 and 2012 in Kansas. There were over 10 million votes cast, of which he has maybe 5 that might have been. Illegal aliens do not try to register. They're trying to stay off the radar. And so for that, we fundamentally change how we do the registration, to the point we have 20,000 Kansans who have tried to register but have been unsuccessful because they don't have the right government papers. And so I find that offensive, and then I also find really offensive the fact that the current incumbent doesn't view this as a full-time job. He spends all sorts of time on things unrelated to Secretary of State. He makes hundreds of thousands of dollars representing clients across the country on things that have nothing to do with Secretary of State. He says he does that on his own time. You can't be paid $86,000 by Kansans for a full-time Secretary of State position while you are running around the country doing representing all these other clients. And so I think that I want to bring this office back to its tradition of quiet competence. And I ask for your support on August 5th, both from Republicans, and I would remind you that unaffiliated independents can walk in on August 5th still and get a Republican ballot. And I think we can return this office to the decency that is Kansas, that represents the best of us instead of the worst of us. So again, I ask your support. Scott Morgan for Secretary of State. Thank you.